Good afternoon, and I believe it will be good morning when this is released to anybody who's listening or watching at a later date. Welcome to Run It Back. This is episode number 32. That's pretty remarkable to say. I enjoy it every week as that number continues to grow. Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Menelik Fernandez, and basically the premise of this show each week is that we take teams that have played previously and we run it back, so to speak. We take a look at the game and we talk about things that worked, things that didn't work, what we would change, what we would keep the same, what efforts we put into preparation, how that preparation uh, actually fit into the game plan and how we adhere to the game plan, all those kinds of fun things. And most of these weeks we've been very fortunate to have a special guest. So this week we're going to continue with that trend. So this week we are looking at Elite Academy, which is in Antwerp, Belgium, and their game against Falco Gent. Forgive me if I don't say that properly. This is a U16 game. This game took place September 13th, 2020. So it's a little bit more recent than some of the ones we've been discussing lately. And we are very fortunate to have Mike the Kraker, a coach from Elite Academy, join us today. Mike, I'm going to try to do you a little bit of justice with an introduction here. Please allow me to do my best here. Mike's a U16 and U21 coach at Elite Academy. He's a contributor and a presenter to many sites such as eliteathletes.com, coachesclinic.com, coachtube.com. I actually met Mike, if I'm not mistaken, originally through the Rising Coaches Network through a presentation that he did through one of our mutual friends, Enrico Kufor. Mike, overall, in my opinion, is just a great guy. Always really responsive, really teaches the game well, wants to share, wants to get better. He's done several intriguing Zooms over the past year that you can find on his YouTube page, which I will post a link to in this once it gets posted. And in my opinion, Mike is an expert at teaching the pick and roll and small-sided games for youth. So, Mike, I'm super happy to have you join us today. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day, especially because you guys are like 6 or 7 hours up on us and you've had a full day of work at this point. So thank you for being here. Appreciate you.
No, thank you for hosting this, Menelik, and also thank you guys for all watching this. And indeed, I'm very open and very open about sharing stuff and learning from all you guys as well. I think you can learn from everybody, from your own players, from kids, from everybody around here, and I respect everybody for that. I will never disrespect anybody for their opinion. That what make us unique, and in every opinion there is a truth. It's just a matter of if you want to hear it or you want to use it. So
100%. I agree with that. Actually, as I mentioned in the introductions, one of my good friends is on the call. We always talk about purposely seeking out people that we disagree with to understand their point of view and see why we disagree with them and hear their perspective. So I'm happy that you said that. That's a good place to start. Let's dig in, shall we? Falco Gent, Elite Academy. Talk about your scouting process. In fact, actually, let's go even a little bit more premature to that. Let's talk about your league, the structure of your league. How does the academy work? Where does it rank in like the breakdown of basketball in Belgium? Let us know where you guys are.
Yeah. So first up, just like the level from the under 16s that we play in, is actually like they call it level 1. So level 1 just means like the highest level in Belgium. Though
Right.
they're all separated in regions and stuff like that, because Belgium is a little bit different in, so to say, in how the provinces work and play against each other.
Right.
So we play in level 1. We also have some other parts that are level 1. And normally at the start of the competition, you won't play against each other. So you can see it some way as the conferences you guys have in for example, the States. You first play against your own conference that have separate leagues with all have the same level, and after that you go to your Elite 8 group and you play the second part of the competition.
Right. And so like the athletes that you coach are both U16 and U21. And this
Yes.
particular game, this is the younger age of the two. The when you get up into the U19, U20, U21, as somebody who's ignorant to what goes on over there, we tend to move into college basketball, and college basketball dominates the basketball level. How does that work for you guys? Do you tend to stay with your academies as you move up, or like what's the structure there?
So normally the under 21 was new this year, and yeah, as we all know, COVID struck as well. So there isn't much game on the U21s because they're regarded as seniors, and seniors were the first to be removed from playing, as it was safer to say for children to play.
Right.
So we don't have a lot of game tape on that. So therefore, I picked the under 16 one, and I thought it is a great teaching game. To come back to your question on how that looks over here. So basically, as we are an academy, we don't have the college system you guys have. We have clubs, and we call an academy, and we play with academy as a club team in our leagues. There are no like schools that play on it. It's like club teams or academy teams that will play in the competition.
So this is awesome, and I think this factors into where I'm going next. We usually like to open up talking about preparation and what goes into games. So obviously these gentlemen are students, and they're with their schools outside, and then they come and they play for a club. So what does preparation look like for you guys? What point of the season are you in when you're playing this game? How many days off have you had between? And what does a scouting process look like at the level that you're at?
So with the 16s, to be honest, the scouting process, we don't take it or we don't look at that much. We know how some of the teams plays because that's the identity. But for the 16s, we build a format in which we want to develop them to the end of the year before they become under 17 guys or going to the under 18 competition, because we are in 16s, 18s, then you go to 21s. So we want to develop them, and after that time, we want to see, okay, we have progressed in this part of the game, and especially this game we are talking about right now. That was our final preseason game.
Right.
So we had 4 preseason games in which we had different alignments because of the fact that some guys were either not available because they had already had. How do you say it? They were simply not available for that game. So this was the only game in which I had everybody available except for one guy that broke his wrist on practice. So talking about how do we prepare for it? Actually, at this part of the season, we were doing 14 practices a week. But normally we have 2 team practices a week. They have a skill session, a shooting session, and both that skill and shooting session are followed up or are before the sessions, they have their strength sessions. And so that correlates to the whole academy, as we also have under 14.
Right.
And they will do less strength workout, but more body workout. So we, of course, you might know him as well. We have Olivier as one of the creators of one of the owners next to Jurk, Michiels from Elite Academy and Elite Athletes. So he does a great job in teaching the guys how to simply get used to their body and move their body in such a way with artistic form, so to say, actually, that they learn how to adapt to stuff that happens in the game.
Interesting. Like it. So then it would be fair to say that game prep is more of a long-term thing that happens over the course of the time that they're with the academy, and the focus is more on things that you guys do for yourselves, right?
Yeah. So to be honest, with the 16s, I don't care about winning or losing. And that's the great part compared to, for example, high school or college in America, because as a coach, you will be judged on your winning and losing. Because you need to win, you need to lose. And I think that's the part in which, if you have a great school that says, okay, you're going to develop kids and they will become better and eventually they will grow to some kind of athlete that can represent and be an ambassador for the school as well.
Right.
That's like great. But out of here, I say, okay, we go for development first. And I even had a kid, his brother plays in the under 21 team for me, and we played as seniors with a mix of guys, and I was coaching there as we were coaching to win seniors. Now we're talking about winning. So he came up to me, the little one, and he's actually one of the captains as well. Came up to me with another captain after watching the game. He said, "Coach, why don't you coach like that with us?" And I said, "Well, there's a big difference in the fact what we are doing right here,
Right.
doing with you guys."
I got a question in the chat from Olivier Jean Charles that says, when it comes to preparation, does every player have the freedom to tailor their prep, pregame, etc., to fit their style and what they need?
So first of all, let me see if I can get the question right. So you're talking about, okay, we're in the pregame, so we are at the gym and they do their pregame routine. Is that the question or?
Yeah, Olivier, if you want to unmute yourself, please feel free to jump in and ask your question.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure. All right. Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Yeah, so when it comes to like preparation, even like with the workouts that you guys give, um, obviously every player is gonna have because I guess it's a two-part question. When you're bringing these players these workouts, are you looking to get them to understand what everything leads to if we're talking about game preparation? Or are you kind of trying to get them to understand themselves in that aspect? I don't know if that makes sense.
I hope
Understand.
I hope that I get your question right. So in training, like normally we have 2-3 team practices a week. So I have to
Okay.
do some stuff in that team practices in which we have to teach them how to build up on something. So right now I'm looking back at my at my practice tapes because I film my practices also, and I put them online for the kids to see, and they can pick out whatever they want. But if I'm looking back now, I'm thinking like, oh man, why did I do it like that? Really, to be honest, like, oh wow. So what we're doing in practices is we expect them to have their mobility done, so their mobility work in forms of their stretching. Their body should be prepared for that practice, and the time we hit the floor, we are going into our warming up stuff that also leads to our core of the practice we want to get at, and simply it's for them to figure it out. I just create the
Right.
environment for them to figure it out. So it's all about the questioning, and how we're going to raise the questions. So to give an example, I had 6 guys that already played in the academy before, and I had 6 new guys in the 16s. So now I'm going to let them coach each other because the 6 guys already know what I'm talking about. They haven't seen it that much, but they already know what I'm talking about. So we implement the rule of 3. It's either I ask you first, Oliver. I ask you, okay, this is the scenario. What are you going to do? Where do you think that you should be going? Well, it might have that you say, I'm doing this, and I'm like, wow, okay, that's a great answer. I haven't thought about that one, but that's a great answer because the simple fact is they see it differently. And other than that, if I'm teaching a particular move, and we will come to that when we break the game down, is okay, I let them coach themselves. And I say, okay, well, Olivier, you weren't here last year, but Menelik, you were here last year. What do you think should be done right here?
Right.
And then he's coaching you. And after that, if both of the players don't know it, I'm stepping in. But I'm not shutting down practice to talk to you 3 guys in general. The other guys can continue. This is just I'm either walking to you, because if I say you have to come to me, that's already a negative. So I want to be in your way to have contact with me. So either I walk to the line you are going to or the area you're going to, and I'm just saying quickly like, why did you do that? I'm like, oh, this and that. Okay, great. Have you looked at? No? Okay, let's do it the other time. And then the next time we have eye contact and he knows, yeah, I looked at it, or I didn't look at it.
Yeah. So I think my next question actually ties in a little bit to this in that, like, I recognize the coaching / teaching tools that you're talking about. Like we call this sort of coaching on the fly over here as well. But in terms of what goes in specifically to the practices that lead up to this game and where you are in the season at that point, what do those practices look like specifically? Like, have you at this point already got into various ball screen coverages? Have you already taught your philosophy on pace of play or how many to the boards? Or have you neglected some of those things for other things? What, like, going from general to specific, what are we talking about for this point for you with these guys here?
Yeah. So basically, I went completely against myself. And why is
That's
that?
a good place to start.
Yeah. To be honest, why is that? Because normally I start with defense.
Okay.
And I start building our defensive structures in. But why didn't I do that? Because we already had our offensive structures set in all building blocks that we are able to teach. And why did I start with offense? Is because this team was very talented. So they would hold up in defense. Yeah, we might lose some games because we didn't teach enough, or we didn't go in over it enough. Well, well, yeah, that's for me as a coach. But while we were looking into being a decision maker, and everybody should be able to make the decisions. So
Right.
looking at the fact where we are at right there is we did a lot of stuff on pick and rolls, and we will see a lot of switching out here in Belgium. A lot of switching, or they just get stuck in screens. So a lot of switching has happened. So we were really hustling on those. What do we do against switching parts, as well as our fast break, two-sided break, two-side fast break, getting it in. So to come back to your question, yes, we want to play fast pace. We really want to push the pace. That will end up in turnovers as well. Yeah, that's
fair. So
like,
in the teaching of those things and what you've chosen to implement, I would assume, having known you a little bit at this point, most of that stuff is small-sided games and advantage disadvantage type stuff. Like, how are you implementing the actual teaching with these gentlemen for these things that you're putting in at this point?
So basically, first up, we did some skill work on like how to set up the pick and roll, give them different setup opportunities. So we're teaching hip swivels, flow dribbles, stuff like that, just attacking off that. And when did I do that? That was when we were allowed to train with 1.5 meter distance.
Right.
So because then we can train some stuff, and then we just put like, the car with all the balls in it, like
Yeah.
you have that one. Well, we just let somebody play with it, and he's the screener. Like, I'm going to set the screen, but
Right.
that was 1.5 meter distance. So now I'm allowed to set the screen, and he was setting up, and then we're going over, or we're just looking at cones. Because to be fair, at some point you lose creativity in 1.5 meter distance drills because of the fact it's not game like anymore.
Right.
So we were doing it either that way, or indeed, like you said, going over it. How do you say it? Disadvantage and advantage stuff. So, for example, if we really want to teach something for the defense in getting over, or for the offense in about like how to play with somebody that's fighting over, then okay, we play 2 against 1, screener, defender. Then like, okay, I can go on like the whole build up we do, but basically we then we go in another another presentation for this one.
Right.
But indeed, we go from like low numbers to 3-on-3, might be 4-on-4. But I didn't even play a lot of 5-on-5 on that point. But because I have a half court, because the academy only has a half court in the facility.
Right.
We're not allowed to train in the other gym yet due to COVID. And when we had a full court, I wanted to run.
There's definitely a lot of restrictions going on for sure. So let me ask you this. You mentioned that you with the other academies that you're playing, in this case, it's Falco that you're going to play against. You know a lot of what they do from style of play, from having history against those coaches. What about in-game adjustments and that kind of stuff? So like, it's a big question, I suppose. So bear with me for a second. You're talking about giving them implementation against switching. Do you, at this point in the season, have several offensive packages for different screen coverages? Or do you have like the one default, like jack of many trades versus master of one type deal or whatever? Like, where are you on that? And And if you haven't implemented things, how comfortable are you putting things in the game, like, hey, let's attack this in a different way in a timeout, let's say, or something like that?
Yeah, so Falco is also a great. It's actually a club, but they have a great history. One of our um, coaches as well is from that region, so he knows how they play. Of course, the kids know one each other, and to talk about late scenario, late situation adjustments. All right, let me talk with starting the week leading up to the game. So we already know that instead of switching, they were playing aggressive defense on ball screens,
Right.
and we were practicing switching defense. So I already know. I already switched up my plan, and we went into teaching the same stuff, but now for aggressive defenses. And we wanted to train that because I see that preseason game as a training, and I hope it get like I always hope the preseason games doesn't end up like 100 against 40 because nobody has something at that. I want it
Right.
to be like close to each other. So we were practicing that in our small sided game stuff and things like that. And going into the game, or at least going into the gym, we came to find out that their best player, the big man, was needed to play with the under 18s. And he's a really talented kid out here in Belgium. So
Right.
that already threw off all the things I had put in my mind to start defending him because I didn't have to worry about him anymore because he's like a big problem. So going in, I was already more relaxed on defense and not worrying about the defense, half court defense anymore, as well as executing the half court offense with the notion that also with the notice that we know they were playing aggressive defense. So to be honest, I think after I watched the game for the second time, I didn't think we made one turnover of them playing aggressive on their defense because we were either prepared for it. And
Right.
then the last part of your question is, was there one default way you were doing it? No, I always want to give them options. So they
Okay.
have options to choose from. For example, you can do a lot of things if you have an aggressive defense because you can, okay, we already go into some stuff, but you can go screen. You can use the veer screen. You can use a flip screen. Um, Next to that, we also can use hand signals to mix up the defense. Um, we can use a lot of stuff, and I let them play with it. So the question we ask them in training is, okay, now you're using a flip screen, but how can you be more deceptive? How can you be even more deceptive while going for a flip screen? And then you see the guys thinking like, oh, wow. And if it's not me, somebody comes up with hand signals. Okay, so I'm pointing my hand at one point, so I defense thinks I'm going to screen there. Bam, I'm flipping it around or doing stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, experiment with it, play with it.
So I love that. I have a question, playing devil's advocate for the other side of that discussion, I suppose.
Yeah,
This kind of goes into preparation. You mentioned that you're all about development and the wins and losses mean quite a bit less. And in terms of the preparation for games, it's more of an approach of uh, focusing on what you guys do as opposed to focusing what the other side does, and focusing on being able to counter different things that they're doing, but teaching them all the various things. Do you feel that there is any element of them not learning about preparation that you are omitting by doing it this way? And what I mean is, you guys switch a lot. You expect everybody to be able to guard everyone, but they don't get individual traits of individual players, and they don't get. It sounds almost like they don't get a specific game plan. Correct me if I'm wrong. For that specific team, you want to play a style of play as opposed to, for these guys we play this way, and for these guys we play that way. Do you think that maybe there is any sort of disadvantages that are done based upon the way that you're teaching it, as opposed to the way that, say, a North American coach might teach it, where it's very much like, I'm going to guard that particular person and I need to know everything about him and I need to know how to defeat him and I need to know the coverages for him? Sorry, that was a really long-winded question.
well, to be honest, and all the players know one each other out here as well.
Okay.
Like Belgium is not a big league. Belgium is not a big country. So if you're good, players know each other.
Right.
And so if they know each other, they also know who's the best player.
Right.
So depending on the severity of the game, so how much the game weighs in terms of this was a preseason game. It was not an in-season game, and it was certainly not an Elite Eight game, so to speak, in order of ranks of like how heavy do they weigh.
Right.
In that side, I would say, okay, it's a preseason game. I'm only focusing on our stuff. If
Right.
we talk about, okay, we're going in season, well, now we have some more stuff we need to go through because now we're playing a game every weekend. So, okay, guys, what did they do last time? What are they known for?
Right.
What are our counters for it? Or how are we going to defend it? Well, if we're going to the Elite Eight, basically then we have a profile from the top players, and we are saying, okay, Menelek is the shooter. We only do these kind of closeouts with them. We don't help from that side. We don't help from this side. And Mike, you are going to guard him.
So is it fair to say they are, in essence, getting certain things that are specific, but that's built over a duration of time because you start to learn traits over that duration of time. So it's more, again, a long-term development model that makes more sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, indeed. That's how it goes. Or at least for me, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Very interesting. I got two more on preparation. I want to get to some film with you, obviously, right away, because I think that's really what most people are here for. They don't like listening to me speak anyways. So first one is, was there like a specific game plan going into this that you kind of tailored or talked about even briefly with them? And then the second question, I'll just put them together. In terms of rotations, what are you doing? Do you have some sort of preparation before? Is it a feel in game? Do you have an idea of how many minutes and who you want to get? Or is it performance based where it's like, okay, well, he's kind of, shitting the bed right now, so let's get him out of there type deal? Like,
Yeah. So getting to your first question first is that I always identify three keys to the game.
right.
Uh, they can either be from our practices or they can be from games before.
Right.
So this certain game, the one topic that we were heavy on was the counter on the aggressive pick and rolls.
Okay.
That was a heavy one for us because that was something we were teaching that week, and either if it goes terribly wrong or it went perfect, that's where we like constantly reminding each other of, okay, guys, this is what we had as a key. How are we doing? Second up was rebounding, because even though we were a tall team, there is shitty in boxing out. And I don't mean like typical boxing out in putting a body on somebody. They just think they don't have to either go at somebody, they can just get it out of their own. Well, they know by now that even the smallest players can get in, and even the smallest players can get it from the big guys. So
right, for sure.
trust me, they won't be that. They won't do that after it. And the third one is our transition. So that can either be focused on offense or defense, depending on what we train. Because the defense transition you also see in this game, we just lacked on it, and that weighs heavy on the score as well. So that's the first question.
Yeah.
Second question is about like how do you rotate? So at Academy we always try to have 12 players on our team. We can only, I think it's the same in America, but we can only have 12 players, active players on the game sheet.
Right.
And as this was a preseason game, for some guys this was only the second preseason game. I'm always about letting everybody play. And in this moment, I didn't care about who played when. I just threw in different lineups every time. So my starters could be on the bench. My in-season starters, some of them could be on the bench. Some of them would be on the bench in crunch time even, because I already know what they can do. I'm not worried about them either. So I'm putting in players that might not have that experience before, and
Right.
now they can learn from it.
Right.
Because how many times do we have a coach and that always puts in their top 5 players at the end of the game? Always, doesn't matter what game we play. What do you do with the other 7 guys when they grow up? I want them to get the experience of feeling like how it is in a game that it's close, that's intense. The further the clock goes down, every contact means more. It just means more. It's the same contact you did 3 quarters ago, but it means more. In terms of how are you going to look at it later on in the season? Well, multiple scenarios came to mind. As we are about an academy and want to develop, we are about, okay, practice attendance. That can weigh heavily on the minutes you play. After that, we want to develop, so we want to play everybody.
Right.
We don't want to give them a 2-minute run. That's not like we're looking at least 4-minute runs. To talk about the games, we play 4 times 10 minutes. So that's
Yeah.
already different
Yeah.
from you guys. Or some of
Oh,
the guys.
not from us in
No,
Canada.
no, that's like some of the guys.
Yeah, so some of the coaches here are from the US. They play federation rules, but in Canada we're playing FIBA, so we're the same as you.
Yeah, so we play 4 times 10 minutes, 24 shot clock, 14 reset with an O board.
Right.
So just to get the rules out of the way, so I have 4 times 10 minutes to play guys in, and I want to play everybody at least 4 minutes. I give them at least 4 minutes, and I want to give them at least 4 minutes, and try to give them three reps, so they have 12 minutes. So
Right.
if you're gonna add that up, that won't make sense. So
Right.
then you have to cut some minutes somewhere. So it could either be 2 times 5, because then I'm playing over quarters, or taking your timeouts smartly, in
Right.
which players also have the imagination that they are playing a lot
Right.
because they're also in timeouts. So that's a bit about the substitution part for us for me at the under 16s in this particular time of the season.
And for you, just elaborating on that, as you mentioned, really the only thing that changes that, like, it has nothing to do with stats you keep on the bench or performance in the game or anything like that. It really has to do with practice attendance and attitude that they bring, type deal. And then from there, for the most part, you're going to look at what you've described.
Yeah, and to be fair, the game we were talking about, I had one player who just, I think he wasn't there. His head was there, but his thoughts were, man, they were in different city. They weren't even at a game. They weren't even
Right.
at that zip code. Not anywhere close. So I gave him like 2 or 3 laps at it, but he keep um, making mistakes. And like I say, I am allowing mistakes because that's where you can learn from.
Right.
So at the end of the game, it was like, all right, man, it wasn't your game today. Like the game was over. I said, it wasn't your game today, but it will be a next game. Yeah. So forget about this one. We all know, and we don't have to talk about it. We all know this was a shitty game.
Yeah.
You can watch it back and you can learn from it yourself. But you know as well as I know that you weren't here today. So
Right.
okay, that guy I'm subbing out at one point, and they're like, okay, I'm leaving him. Like he's not coming in. I think he played a late third and a bit of the fourth
So
quarter because I
I
wanted to
think
throw
I
him.
have the exact clip that you're talking about. I think it's one of the ones that I pulled.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that for sure.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
So yeah. So that's also like game performance also plays in mind, but I'm trying to give everybody multiple rounds so that they
Right.
can correct their mistakes.
Interesting. All right, I'm going to get into some film with you. I think
Yeah.
this is what everybody's here for. Made an edit of your game. Obviously, we pulled it from YouTube here. Let me just get set up real quick. And I want to just make sure this is smooth when it plays for you. You can see that. That's okay.
Yeah, it's a bit choppy though, but to me
Is-
at least, I don't know about the other coaches, but I know the game, so I know what what play is going to happen, but I don't know if the other coaches see it.
Interesting. All right. Well, I did optimize it, so hopefully it gets a little bit better. I apologize if it's a little bit choppy. So I'll talk through the clips a little bit, and then I'll try to play them back again for you one more time. I'll talk through them just for the purpose of anybody who's listening instead of watching later on. The first one is just a pick and roll clip, you guys attacking a switch. Just sort of any teaching points or anything that you see. This is relatively early in the game and basically starts in the left slot, ends up with an advance pass to the other side, and then a rescreen and a pop for a jump shot that he misses. So, I mean, without being married to the results of the clip, what do you see? What are your teaching points? This is, I think, first play of the game, if I'm not mistaken.
I think even so, yeah. So normally I draw up, and I send it to you as well. Normally I draw up a different play of the game. So for everybody that thinks
show that real quick if you like. I have that prepared as well.
And so just talking about that, if you see a coach, sorry, the refs out there. Yeah, so if you go back, normally our first play of the game is into our triggers. So we call our actions, we call them triggers. So on the far side, you see a dribble at, followed by a get that we ignore, a stagger screen, and we got a shooter open. So this guy that shot the shot, he shot, this was our first season game. He shot 6 for 12 from 3-pointers that game. So we just play multiple stuff, and okay, you can see there are multiple times they can do something about it, but they didn't. And the guys played automatically. So for this game, I went to a different alignment, and actually I wanted to get the ball inside. So what I wanted is, we know that they were getting aggressive, so we wanted to get that switch, and we wanted to look inside. So this guard, Maxi is called, the number 2, should have passed to the wing who's moving up, lifting up, so to say, because actually I wanted the shooter, I wanted to get him inside, but he didn't seal long enough, and the pass was not made on time to the wing. So how do they solve it? I think they even solved it great, because we ended up with a shot out of it. But if you play it, if you continue to play it, he screens, but actually he more like ghost screens it. So he screens, but at the moment the defense is adjusting to it, he's out of there. And he actually ended up going to space. So this is a shot I'm like, it's not played, but they figured it out. But yeah, I think we saw 2 coverages on the pick and roll they did a great decision on.
Right.
We didn't get the shot, but yeah.
And then this is attacking them with a step-up screen, and this is to the point that you just made. I think you see additional coverages from different players here too. No, they do end up switching, but then this is just a step up from the other slot after a reverse. And once you have this step up or inverted, whatever you want to call it, he attacks, he hits the roll, and roll finishes at the basket.
Yeah, indeed. So that's like one of the things we're working on. This is a great touch and go. So it's a step up screen, but he's touching it and he's letting go immediately because the advantage is created. It's a great roll, great pass inside. So yeah, this is the first score of that game. And again, we utilize their defensive schemes against them with our pick and roll counters.
So for you, as I mentioned, this is a different player who's initiating the pick and roll and a different player who's screening. Are you guys okay with everybody being able to be the ball handler and everybody being able to be the screener? Do you attack specific matchups, or are you just trying to, in the flow of things, gain an advantage and keep it?
So that's a multi-layered question for sure.
I tend to ask a lot of those. I apologize.
Yeah. So to me, okay, everybody that's comfortable with it can have a go at it, because like I said, we're all about developing. So the guy that the shooter I was talking about last season, he didn't do anything about dribbling, and now he's playing point as well if needed. So this guy right here in the clip you just showed, now he's screening, and basically that's a tank, man. You don't want to get hit by him for sure.
Right.
It's under 16, that guy. You don't want to get hit by him, and he's ferocious in doing that. And he comes from the Netherlands as well, played in a lower league. Now he's playing level 1. He had to adjust, but now he's a great asset to us. And he's learning so much. And as you see right here as well on that screen. So we play out that 2 corners, 2 slots filled with a post. At this point, we didn't do a lot about post-ups and post-reactions in this phase of the season, so don't expect them. But what we did is a lot of screening out of it. Now he's calling it out because you already see him putting out his hand when he goes to screen.
Right.
So if you go back even further, then you see the hand. So we're already like it's a quick fist up, like I'm coming. So he's screening. So the other guy already knows I'm driving. And he makes a great decision actually because it's a great pass. You see on the weak side, they're still confused on who's defending who. Now you have a big guy on our shooter on the left corner.
Right.
He doesn't see the roll. Too late to adjust to it, and we already killed him.
Yeah.
Question.
I don't know if I want to talk.
Yeah. There was a question. I heard somebody asking something.
Did somebody have a question? Want to go ahead?
Yeah, I got a question. Sorry.
Jump in, Mike. Go ahead.
So, Mike, in both these situations, you guys are setting pick and roll, and there's a big differential between youth development pick and roll in North America and in Europe. What are your cues for that screener? Because there's an expression that in North America, the ball handler goes to the screener versus in Europe, the screener goes to the ball handler. And in the first clip, you even see the ball handler have enough time to wait for the screener, readjust the screen, and then use it. So I want to know what your cueing is for that screen and how you're really developing over the years kind of thing.
Mike, sorry, Mike, just before you answer that, I want to ask you specifically about your cues on ghosting and getting out early. So if you could omit that right now, because I have another clip later, but anything other than that, please.
So what we are cueing in is like the guy with the ball. So the ball, he can see everything, but the screener determines actually what's going to happen. And why is that? Because he can see the coverage. And why am I talking about that coverage? Is that if you do you have the first clip again, Menelik, or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're setting the screen, and like at the moment there we are setting the screen, he sees, or you cannot see that, but we have the cue that you have to see over your right shoulder. So first option for number 2 is always to reject. So he allows him to go and reject. After that, he adjusts. And now he's screening again, and he sees, look, he's watching. If you go back 1 second, he actually does it. Man, that's great. I didn't even see it. So if he goes, go back a little bit. He's watching over his right shoulder. Like at that moment, he's rescreening. He's watching over his right shoulder.
Right
there, bam! You saw it. He looked at it, and he already knew that the guy is like, look at the feet of the defender. They're already up. So we talk about if you look over your right shoulder and you cannot see your defender anymore, you're out of there. Because then that means he's up. So you're either gone to the next gap, which isn't there because the corner is filled. So he has to take him and drag him with him. So that's a cue we use when they play an aggressive coverage, and that's also a cue to ghost. Because I think you will see that later on in the third quarter, because we have a guy who ghosts 70% of his screens. If he knows that he's aggressive, he ghosts everything. But we're looking at cues. And next to that, if they go under, which they didn't do a lot of this game, these guys twist. So we twist the screen and play off it right away. But we tend to give them cues, and the screener can set the screen, and the ball handler has to react to it. Indeed, that's different from the stuff you guys are doing in North America.
So basically, the screener is dictating. He's the one who's making the choice.
Yeah, but still, the guard always has the option to reject as well.
Right.
Because reject for us is the number one option. Because I was talking to another coach. As a coach, we are always building our defense set to the coverage we have. So they built their defense on aggressive coverage as well as their help side. But how many times do we have as coaches? And I haven't done enough of a good job either. I'm the first one to admit. How many times are we training what our defensive schemes or defensive rotations should look like when a reject happens?
Yeah, that for sure is true. We do some advantage, disadvantage stuff here for that, but I think within some form of a 4-on-4, 5-on-5 small-sided game or a shell or whatever, we we don't often play with it. In fact, we almost, at least in most of my experience of gyms that I've been in, we almost encourage that screen to be used all the time and then play live from there.
Do you find that aside from transition, or outside of transition, then the half court, like 80% of your offense results or has a pick and roll within it?
Yes and no, but at this point we were heavy on the screens. In other games we were heavy on our, we call it zoom, so that's dribble at. So something we do different than a DHO, for example. We want to dribble at them.
And
We
then
want
they
to,
go.
like you saw in the first clip, we always used that as our default offense. We dribble at them and we pitch it, so to say.
Right.
Why do we do that instead of a DHO? If we go for a DHO, the ball handler doesn't have the decision to keep it. He cannot keep it anymore because he cannot split the handoff because he has put his hands on the ball. So we want to pitch it in a way that we can adjust our body to it, and most likely Melinek will have it, and otherwise I will have it, of a guy just smashing another one down,
Yeah,
ending up in the three-pointer.
Definitely have them.
And if we did a DHO out of it, and if you don't have it, I have it as well on the clip, because then we do something different. So if it's really they are blowing it up, we cannot give that pitch. We keep it, we pivot, and we want to give it over.
Mike,
and
sorry.
the last one we also utilize is gets. So to me, for youth coaches under 14, gets and zooms, perfect setup for pick and roll.
So Mike, I have two questions in there. One, do you use the term pound and pitch as well? Pound and pitch. This is the way that I've been taught this. So your last dribble's got to be hard, forceful before you give that pitch up, so that you can, because you're pounding it hard, you can make the defense almost kind of commit to one action or another. Like, are they going to top lock? Are they going to lock and trail behind? Is the guy guarding the ball handler going to overcommit or decommit type deal? I'm wondering if you use this terminology in the way that you teach it as one of your players.
No. So what we don't use the pound and pitch. What we are heavy on is north-south movements.
Right. Okay.
So we want our zooms to be north-south. And what we tend to do, and what we all, it's just human, like it's just in our brains. If we go from the left slot to the corner, we want to dribble over the three-point line. But by doing that, we're not like adjusting the defense enough. If we make it a north-south drive in which we tend to drive to the basket, that guy most likely will step in. After that, a little pitch to the side is more than open, and you can screen him. He can go under it, and now like multiple scenarios of that. So we don't call it that pound and pitch. No.
So north-south is basket to basket as opposed to sideline to sideline.
Yeah, or going in an arch to the player. If we use the dribble at, we don't want to go in an arch, because that allows them to adjust to it as well.
And for clarification for me, and maybe I'm the only dummy in the call because I've heard this term encompass many things actually. A zoom for you is only specifically the dribbling at and the pitch.
Yeah, it could also be a keep it, but it's a dribble at. We call zooms our dribble ats, indeed. We want to use that one verbal word for it.
It's interesting because I saw a Cody Topper clinic this summer where he said same definition, but then basically said he's heard it referred to as any of the combinations of pass and get, pass and follow with a screen, or the dribble at and then pound and pitch type deal. He's heard that term sort of encompass all of it and would never step in and be like incorrect or whatever, but you got to clarify which one you mean when you're talking about it, so to speak.
Yeah, so that's for us is the general form of it.
Right.
So that dribble at we call a zoom, but what comes out of it can be a keep it read, can be either clean or can either be dirty. What we call clean is, so to say, that we can pitch it. If it's dirty, we go into our Bogut. So Andrew Bogut, like if it's dirty, we dribble at you and it's dirty, then we stop, then we pick it up, and then we pivot. And I can show you the clip from this game as well, because the number
sure.
2 guy, he's doing it at one point.
Let me get into our next clip here.
Yeah,
This is a switch, and then he rejects like a step up afterwards. I'm just wondering, similar type deal. I mean, you get to switch on that first screen, and then he goes to set a step up and goes and attacks. What do you
Yeah.
see? What do you feel about it, etc.?
Yeah, so this is one of our counters as well, because after the first screen, we didn't create an advantage because they switched.
Right,
So we want to regain that advantage by rescreening is one of the options we teach.
right,
Rescreening. And after that, he basically could have called turtle as well. What do we say with a turtle? A turtle is a small on a big, sorry, a
right,
big defender on a small offender. And
right,
what we call a mouse is a small defender on a big offender.
right,
So he could have called that, and that's the dribbler, so the ball handler that calls it. Now, like I said, the screener makes the decision to rescreen. They are still talking about the defense, is still talking about the switch and how they're gonna cover it, and we're already driving in for the reject. Again, there's no scheme for the reject, and we're already down the hill.
I got a question for you. This is a big debate amongst me and my friends. Playing off of 1 foot, playing off of 2 feet, or a combination of the two at the rim.
I think you got it. You need to have it all. I think you need to have it all, because with this momentum he creates off the 2 feet, he tricks the defense with it. If he was going up with a 1-2 step, most likely either get a foul or maybe get a block, but he tricked them with it. That's simple, and that's a personnel decision. That's the decision he makes.
Right.
Part coming from Poland, have spent time in different parts of Europe as well. So no, he is a high IQ in that part of the game. Yeah.
Nice. We got one here, which is you guys defending in the pick and roll. You get split here, and you do you tag them after. I'm just kind of wondering, thoughts on the process. I'll play it back again for anybody listening. It's a step up in the center of the floor. The screen defender is, below the level of the screen. I wouldn't characterize it as a drop, but he's a little bit below. The ball handler crosses, gets to the center, and then the whole man, or the most important guy, whatever you want to call, is pulled all the way in for help. And he goes and shoots a pretty difficult shot. They don't end up scoring, but just wondering sort of what your thoughts are on the clip itself.
Yeah, so that's also personnel based, that number 2 guy, so that guard. I think he missed the previous play or something like that in offense because he wasn't paying attention in defense. So he wasn't ready to defend this one.
Right.
So next to that, this is something we don't want to happen, of course, because getting split is the worst one of all.
Right.
So if they screen, we want to play our red coverage, which means we want to aggressively switch. And that was one of the focal points after the game, because we switched a lot, but we didn't switch with aggression.
Right.
So you see here we're getting switched. So the one thing the number 2 guy does a pretty good job of is just simply pulling that roller out of the way. If you think, well, where are the referees? The one in this, how do you say it in English? with his blues and jeans on. Yeah, he's one of the referees because due to COVID, the federation didn't had enough referees for this game as it's preseason.
I actually thought that. I saw the ref at a few times giving some players some high fives, and I'm like, man, they're either really nice out there or this is somebody's dad on the floor.
To be honest, it was somebody's dad for
there
sure.
You go.
And then we're already down 10-0 because you're playing away and you have club referees. Like I tried to not give enough, not spend enough time on it. So after the split, we actually did a decent job. He did a decent job of recovering, and their mistake is to not pass it outside because the tall kid who's coming to contest the shot, he actually leaves his man open at the corner.
So for you, within your team concepts, you're okay with pulling in as the help here. You don't try to play the pick and roll with only 2 when they're beat, you want an emergency helper coming type deal.
Oh no, he shouldn't even be there. He shouldn't even be there. And he
Interesting,
knows he's overhelping too much.
right?
His point is that he's always overhelping too much. So we don't want him to overhelp that much. Now we do have a 2-on-1 scenario on the other side, so he could be helping, but his individual development point is that he's overhelping too much and he's getting into foul trouble.
So I got a question in the chat for you. It's from James Koval. It just basically says, do you feel that when you tell players to switch, that they get soft?
Yeah, and that's also a great and big debate. It really depends on what you do and what you expect of them, because we always think of, and this is something I talked in the clinic with Coach Tube, with Coach's Clinic and Fast Model as well. We always think that switching defense is lazy, but switching defense is actually one of the hardest defense to play if played correctly. And why is that? Because you have to guard multiple checks. You don't only have to know something about your own man. You have to know something about the other man as well,
Right.
as well as having to communicate and having to connect with one and each other. Well, we can all know in youth games, connections and communication, at least out here, sometimes you have to look very far to get the right connections and communication with each other.
Right.
So
Interesting.
to
Love it.
answer the question, getting soft, we were playing soft this entire game in defense. That's very true. I'm not going to lie about it. They know, but the focal point for us was not on the defensive coverage. So I can only mention it, but I'm not going to kill somebody for it. Like, let me say,
Right.
kill playing time for it, because that was not one of their key points for us.
So, Mike, I asked you for an hour. Obviously, I got a lot more film left, so we'll go a little bit beyond, if that's
I'm
okay.
all cool. Yeah. No. I'm ready to go. I know I'm talking a lot as well, so just go on.
No,
Go on.
I love it. I think this is great. So I really appreciate your time. I just want to be respectful of it. So I know you've had a long day at this point. You just let me know, if you've had enough, just call it, please.
No, man, let's go on. I love it.
So here's the one you were talking
Yeah.
about with the DHO, and he just clubs the kid, knocks him down. This is, your zoom action as you described it, where he flips it over. He actually turns it into a DHO, in my opinion, and player gets knocked down. So give me some teaching points, what you think, other than the 17-foot high jump shot there.
So we were talking about zooms getting north to south. So now we're going east to west with zooms, because now we're not going north to south anymore. We're going east to west.
Right.
So one of the things he's not doing right, or he's not doing correctly enough. It's not mistake or correctly enough. It's more like we aim, and you cannot see it because of the reflection, on east-west zooms, we aim for the opposing elbow. Why to do that? Because then we simulate that drive again. Now he's just going north, like east-west on the zoom. Like his toes are completely against the sideline, if you would draw a line to it.
Yeah.
So after that, we all know that that's our shooter. Maybe they didn't know it, but that's one of the shooters we have. So he gives that DHO indeed. We expected, and you see he's hesitating because we expected aggressive coverage. But this is one of the few times he's actually dropping back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was more concerned about that roll, but I mean, he drops way down there. He's below the free throw line by the time your shooter go.
And then we're shot first. So this is an easy decision to play off it. And you see, this is also from a transition standpoint, because we dribble it up, and I think, I don't know if you have the whole clip actually.
No, I don't have it.
Yeah, he dribbles it up himself. So once again, another player that dribbles it up, calls out the trigger we use, and simply because of their mistake or communication mistake or him falling, we hit the shot.
We got another defending, utilizing the switch, and then I think you end up with a very long closeout on the help side in this one. So we start in the right slot, we get into a handoff, there's a step-up screen, they hit the pop, they reverse the side of the ball, and then they get another screen on the other side. Penetration plays off of two, long skip pass to the other side, long closeout. I would characterize that as a fairly open 3-point shot that he misses. So
Yeah.
give me the rundown of this whole play in your point of view, please. I'll start it from the
Yeah.
beginning again.
So basically, yeah. So we were switching it. They don't end up getting an advantage out of the first handoffs or screens, so to say.
Right.
So basically, we go to the point. Okay, when is the real threat happening? So this is not a threat at this point. This is not a threat as well. He can shoot, but we are good enough to contest that one. And now is where the threat happens. Where we have to pay attention.
Okay.
So we were playing with an in and an out guy. So you see that guy below the free throw line. He's actually a bit too far down, actually, for my in my opinion. No, the other one down underneath the basket.
This player here,
No,
or the one
all the
in
way down underneath the basket. You still have you missed
yeah.
one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's actually a personnel decision in how far can I help but still be able to contest the shot.
Right.
So for him, it will be different than for another kid. So at this moment, he was defending and helping inside. Now we have the cue that you only need to help when you see the chest of the offensive player.
Okay.
If you go back a couple of seconds when the drive happens, so now he's driving, he's gaining that advantage because we use a drop step. So he's stepping open, he steps in to help, but he doesn't step out after that. The low guy, he doesn't step out.
Right.
So now he's spinning around, but still he's in that same position, and he has to play with it.
So on this spin right here, he should making the decision to begin going back towards the corner you're suggesting.
Yeah, because he should know that the big kid Aaron, he's called, he got it. That guy isn't going nowhere in the paint for us. He's not going to get a great quality look up. So still, you can say this is an open shot. I'm living with that at the under 16 age of the level we are playing with in Belgium, because we still make a closeout at it. But I'm living with that shot. Indeed, the decision on where he is in help and he's not moving his feet, that's a teaching point for us.
Attacking with pick and roll, attacking nail help, and then just shot quality at the end of the clip here. So we start in the left slot. We didn't get the ability to come without our man on the first screen. He goes, I don't think we make great contact on this screen.
No.
And then he shoots a pull-up 3-point shot that I think is pretty heavily contested. And, not a very good result overall. What would be your teaching points? What would be your thoughts on this?
So to put some context into it, this is the end of the quarter play. So after that, the buzzer goes. So we had to take the shot. But this was a great teaching point, because the kid that took the shot, he already played in the academy before. The kid screening is actually a first year under 16. So the kid is only 13, 14, playing in under 16. Played in lower leagues in Belgium. So his IQ is still developing.
Right.
Other players, I've asked, what would you do if he's defending like this? And they will come up with screening my own.
Right.
Because this is simple. And the point guard should have realized it, that he's being overplayed. So now I actually have a double screen, because he can screen his own and I can drive into him.
Right.
And after this play, he was heated up. So the point guard was heated up about the fact that he didn't get enough of a look because the screen was not there. And I told him, the point guard, what were you sawing on the defensive part?
Right.
Because in this part, I would say, if the screener doesn't know it, you have to tell it to him. Because we were talking about who's communicating when and where. This is a breakdown conversation they needed to have at the end of that quarter. Because this is a screen your own situation. The screener didn't recognize it. So if you play along, now the guard doesn't know what to do. And we end up getting like you said, more like a brush screen. It doesn't even it's half-half, because the point guard is driving again and the screener thinks I have to screen. Oh no, he's driving. So it's a big teaching point. And I love this one as well, because by doing this, they needed to have that breakdown conversation with each other on, hey, what happened? The tall kid, he isn't going to realize that it's a screen your own at that point because we haven't taught it enough.
Right.
We haven't spent time on teaching it. So he doesn't realize it. But the point guard should realize, okay, he doesn't do it. I have to go another way, or I have to do something else because he's skilled enough to do it. So they needed to have a breakdown conversation after that play, just to think about what happened.
Sorry, Mike, I got a question for you. In the
Yeah.
screening your own aspect, do you also teach the counter of him screening his own for the purpose of a lob over the top, or would you only teach it for, hey, he can screen his own so that the ball handler can get downhill against the double screen, so to speak?
Yeah,
Are there
yeah.
both
So
counters that you use, or?
so mostly we call it like we want to seal them off, of course. So they can do that as well because if you're coming up for a screen and they play like they overplay you right away, you can seal them off and maybe you can even look for a pass to the wing and an entry pass.
Right.
But at this point of the season, we weren't even close to teaching that.
Right.
So he just simply doesn't know.
No problem. All right, I'll jump ahead to the next one here. We've got this is a multiple effort play, a lot of offensive rebounds by them, and ends up with a couple open shots and rebounds that they shouldn't get. I don't believe they actually ended up scoring on the play overall, but
no,
I'm just wondering, kind of what you think. And I was also curious in this specific one. You're fairly calm on the bench. It would be an understatement. I think there's only one or two times that I saw you sort of really react. How do you fix something like this in game? Because that to me is an effort type thing. So what are you saying to your guys? What are you doing to motivate them, etc.? I'll run it from the beginning one more time.
Yeah. So like I said before, we are rotating a bit, but nobody is putting a body on his man. We're trying to get closeouts. Like now we end up giving a wide open 3-pointer because nobody's even paying attention to the ball, let alone boxing out.
Right.
So yeah, I was chewing up the coach board and chewing up the pen inside because man, if you see this, you might as well like, all right, here we go again. Like, how can we fix this? And really, I can go and become out of my mind to them. I can yell to them. I can like, what are we doing? But if I'm just talking about it, they know as well. If you show them the clip after the game, they know as well, like, coach, okay, we screwed up. And as it was one of our key points, and I'm trying to be the coach that isn't shouting meaningless verbs to them.
Right.
So I don't want to like break this kid down because he's only 16. They should be allowed to make mistakes. Now, these are 5 players making 5 mistakes, 3 plays in a row. So yeah, we should talk about it. So yeah, we do that in like the next timeout or in the next quarter break. We do talk about it, guys. These are 3 offensive rebounds. They don't get a shot out of it. They don't get a score out of it, but 3 offensive rebounds. So for this game as well, we scouted offensive rebounds. Like I sent you the scouting. We scouted offensive rebounds. There is nothing from the opposing team in scoring wise. There are two stats we were tracking. That was one was their our turnovers, our live ball turnovers resulting in points, and their second chance points off rebounds. That were the only 2 or 3 stats that I was tracking because that was heavily on our mind. So this is in timeout, in quarter break, in halftime break, teaching point for us because they know we had 2 or 3 of these kind of possessions in a game.
Love it. This is another rotations one. This is one you're talking about the one particular player whose head wasn't in it at one point. I think I actually see you go to the bench and yank him. I don't think there's much to talk about here other than, obviously he was having an off moment and you spoke about it in preparation. So in the interest of time, I'll just skip ahead. We don't have to berate that play unless there's something else that you see in there that.
No, so like I want to talk about it because they were setting that I will call flex screen for, so to say, they were setting a weak side screen.
Right.
And we talked about switching it. So you see the big kid switching it, but the other guy is still in the back of it.
Right.
And this was actually at this point, it was his second or third mistake in a
Right.
row,
Right.
either communication wise or just in game. So yeah, he wasn't there. But pull him out, put him in the next time, and let's see what happens in his third shift. But at
Right.
this point, it was like, yeah, it's not one, it's two, it's three.
Exactly. It compounded at that point.
Yeah. So that was the only thing, yeah, to really talk about indeed.
Attacking pick and roll using the ghosts. So this is a great and one finish for anybody who's listening here. We're in the right slot and they come and they ghost the screen. It's a touch and go type deal. When he slips out of it, there's a crossover and a throw over the top. This is a pretty hard pass to catch, in my opinion. But your guy makes a great catch and a finish, gets the and one, gets the basket. This is third or fourth quarter. It's later in the game.
Yeah. So this is the guy I was talking about who does 70% of his ghost cutting.
Right.
He loves them, and actually number two is skilled enough to make that pass. So yeah, this is just a good read. Once again, if you see him coming up, he realizes that number 8 is a great kid at number 8, but he just made a mistake of like he's already above him. So we already know he's ghosting that one, simply.
So my only question, sorry, Mike, if you
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say my only question would be, do you do any work with your guys? You mentioned the teaching points of checking, over your shoulder and looking at the feet and knowing when to get out there timing wise. Do you do any work with the guys on the roll or on the short roll in terms of their vision and where they should be looking on that catch?
Yeah, so that's the next step for us. So if we're teaching it going 2 against 2 of this particular coverages, then we go again. Then we go 3 against 3. So at this point of the stage in the season, I spent so much time, or spent a lot of time on the 2v2 reads, that we weren't making enough of a good decisions on the what do we do after we catch the ball. So I think in this game we have 3 to 5 scenarios in which we had a catch after the pick and roll, which
Right.
if we have better look at the field, we would have ended up with an open shot instead of a turnover or a contested layup.
Right. Love it. Next one. This we don't even really need to talk about. This is just a set we used to run in high school where I was at. So I just wanted to say, hey, that's one I like. I use. That's a nice finish.
And
there.
Even when you go back, I even thought we're gonna F it up, because that low guy has to screen the player that's going to make the end one. But look where he is. He had to screen the defender of that player, and look, he's above him. So okay, he makes a great read in passing it as well and ghosting it out and just going down. But this wasn't even the correct. They didn't even play it correctly, to be honest.
Interesting. We used to, when I was in high school, it was real simple. We had 2 box set plays. That's all they were, and this was one of the 2 of them. So I liked it. I had a little laugh about it. Just wanted.
Yeah, it works.
This is one of the more scripted plays in the game. I feel this is like a weave to several ball screen type deals. So there's some zooms in here. There's some ball screen action. There ends up with a penetration at the end. But I would overall just characterize this as like a weave to ball screen type action that ends up with a penetration from the wing corner. So maybe talk a little bit.
Yeah, it's great you say set, because this is player's decision. I haven't said anything about it. This is not a set we run. This is nothing.
Right.
And to be honest, if you show that again, we did a poor job of looking for the advantage out of all the stuff we use. So this is a get action we want to run. It's a keep it read. Now he decides not to shoot it. He's going to pass it, screen out of it. Now actually he wants to rescreen because he goes, we have no advantage. I want to rescreen, but he noticed that the ball handler is already moving away from him. So he goes out. And now we're passing it. And actually that little zoom didn't end up doing nothing because he's not screening him. He's not doing anything. So we don't have an advantage. Now, the point guard doesn't look at the guy screening him again because he looks at the corner. After he passes it to the corner, we have an inside seal that he misses. And now he makes a forced drive in which he could have gotten an offensive foul as well. He doesn't get it, but he doesn't make the shot either. So
He should
multiple,
finish that. You got to get up there and finish that with that much size against that.
yeah. So multiple decisions that they didn't make correctly, and you can say it's a set. Well, this is player decision. We don't run that set at all. We don't run sets, but
So
especially not this one.
in this one, I just went back. I had a question about one of your rules. After you said he misses on that one, and then 13 is going to zoom away from him. When he's going away from this taller gentleman right here, you always want this taller gentleman when it's going away to follow the action. Is that what you said there? Did I
Player
miss?
decision actually. He made that decision. Normally we played out of an alignment which has, like I said, 2 up, 2 down, one post, or we play with an empty corner, or we play with a filled spread, so more like a 5 out setup.
Right.
Now we didn't spend enough time on all the different offensive structures, so for this we used the 4 out 1 in structure,
Right.
and we played out of that. This is all player decision. I would say it's a great follow-up, but the guy who's getting the ball, the number 2, he doesn't realize it because actually he had a great driving lane off it or a shot. And after he passes it, we got a great inside seal we miss. So that's like missed opportunities for me.
Interesting. All right.
If you see in the back, and that's why we missed the opportunity, they're not defending that seal as well because the other guys are like outside the bucket line in the weak side help.
Right. Love it. Just got to finish that. It bothers me.
Man.
Go up and dunk that, man. This is one of their baseline out of bounds. I don't think there's a whole lot here to ask about. Just I was actually going to ask the question when I was preparing it. Do you scout anything in terms of the baseline out of bounds, and what do you try to force out of it? But you've already mentioned that you don't really. If there's something in here that maybe you see, let me know.
No, so for this play not, but we did had there because we also played our under 21.
Right.
And like we know the coach knows players and we know stuff. So we actually had their set plays, which they didn't even run. We had them, and we had the guy on the bench with his broken wrist being able to like organize players if they were running the sets. They didn't play them. So we can throw that out of the way as well. As for blobs and slops, yeah, we know them, we can prepare for them, but to be honest, at the under 16s, that could be a last second decision, because if we go to the end of the third quarter, I don't know if you have it, but then he calls a timeout, and if you watch that, we played with a different alignment in defense.
Right. I don't have that one. I
have it for you.
Great. I skipped ahead to end of game here. So these are a couple time and score type questions that I want.
Yeah.
And then I'll jump into what you had. Again, I just want to ask you, you're okay on time?
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. It's like it's 8:30 p.m. So I'm all good.
Awesome. So one of the gentlemen who's in the call with me, in agreement with me, had a debate about an NBA player taking or not taking a layup at the end of the game when you're up and you've got a lot of time on the clock. So this is a time and score question I have. What would you like to see versus what happened, or are you okay with what it is? Basically, there's 36 seconds left in the game. It's your ball. You're up 5, and you're in transition. This is one of your better players, in my opinion. He ends up in the right slot and sees the opportunity, goes to take the layup, actually ends up missing the layup, even though he plays off of 2 feet, and they gain an extra possession. They would have had one more possession, but they gain more time for their last possession. They're coming back in the other direction. So I'm wondering what your teaching points are on this, or are you okay with it? Do you want to go and try and take that layup?
Man, we haven't taught it to them, so I cannot be mad at them. I can only say that's a missed opportunity, and we should be smarter. But I cannot be mad at him because we didn't taught him. But if we have the ball 5 up, we play 24-second clock. That would mean that they would only end up with, let's say, around 18 seconds if we played the full clock. Yeah, this is a no-brainer. He should pull it out. It's not an open layup. He's going 2 against 4, to be honest. Okay, they open up they open up the whole bucket for him, but he had to kick it out. either make it or kick it out. If he makes it, it's still not the best decision, but I live with it.
You get a little bit happier as a coach if he makes
Yeah,
it.
but no, this is no brainer. He has to pull it out, pass it out, or it was an open layup. Then he has to make it. But
I can't even remember. I can't even remember at this point who did it in the NBA playoffs that incited our discussion, but it was in the bubble, and it was like we talked about it for a while.
No, but this did end up hurting us because they hit a 3-pointer out of this rebound.
Right.
That means that it was only a 2-point game.
Right. So that ends up being the next clip. So I'll just let it play. You're up 5. They miss a layup in transition, but they get the offensive rebound. They pull it out. They work it around. So there should be 14 on the shot clock at this point. The ball's at the point. And there's a couple reverses. And then what do we got? We got a penetrate and a kickback, and he hits a heavily contested 3 in that same player's face that makes it a 2-point game. You call the timeout and you go to the bench. And I think there's about 8 seconds left at that point.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like, as you mentioned, it ended up hurting you. What are you saying to the guys in this timeout? And actually in this particular one with the roughly 8 seconds left, again, you guys end up shooting it pretty quick as opposed to killing the clock. So,
two things to talk about. If you go back to the 3-pointer they hit, like I talked about the kid having the IPP, so the individual player thing to not overhelp. So if you go back on the drive, he's not the one he's not the one needing to help. Look at where he's standing.
Right.
This is not. Yeah, Mike. Indeed. It's still.
I'm actually just looking to look at it, making him so stressed even now. He took his glasses.
Yeah, it's like
it's true.
And then after that, like, okay, so he's overhelping. He should not be helping that much. If we go to the out of bounds, because we already run a certain kind of type of slop, and I called the timeout and I adjusted it. Normally it was a zipper screen down, so he's faking the zipper to setting an off-ball screen to get it in one of their best shooters' hands. Now we end up getting it, so he wants to get ripped because he's double teamed. That's perfectly fine. This is not a shot we should take. And if you play it further, if you have it even, if you go on, I don't know if you have it, this guy actually does a great job of saving it, but because by saving it, he doesn't allow them to stop the time and take a timeout. They did have a timeout. So it was great that he saved it, but man, like Mike said, the shot decision on the last seconds. Yeah. And that's why I love it to have the players into the game that might not be comfortable with at that point. And you see that number 3 kid holding him after the play. He is from that area, so he knows the players as well. He only plays with the academy, but he knows the players. So yeah, it's all it's all love for them as well. But man, the decision making, wow.
Well, I mean, it's a learning process for all of us, right? So
yeah, no, for sure. So indeed, that ages you a bit when you're sitting on the bench as a coach. But yeah, well, we pulled it out. We had some great pointers out of it. We were practicing against an aggressive defense, so at the end we were all happy with the result, and just look at the next game and missed opportunities actually.
So that is it for the clips that I have. I do have what you sent me in terms of, this is something that I think is fabulous, and anybody who is currently or has previously, such as myself, coached high school type ages or even into colleges, I think this is remarkably useful that he does something like this. I also know what it's like to wear the many hats of being a high school coach, where like you don't get all the stats that you would at higher levels. You don't have all the support staff that you have. So I appreciate the time you put in for making something like this, a post-game type report. I won't play the whole thing.
No, if you play it like in on 1.5 speed, then we go over the topics in it, because then we're actually going over it pretty quickly, and I will pause at 2 or 3 clips for you.
Perfect. So I'll stop share and you can go ahead and let us watch yours then. But I just wanted to say again, like I said, like I appreciate the time that you're taking, spending. As I mentioned to one of my buddies who's jumped on this call and is in here listening or whatever, there's good coaches all over the place, and we don't all get the recognition that we deserve. And certain people, I mean, it's an unforgiving industry. So I really appreciate guys who go ahead and do something like this. This is just basically a post-game report, right?
Yeah, so what I do after it, I go over the keys of the game, and I make a recap of it. So I try to keep them under 10 minutes, because I think we should not be spending more than 10 minutes on post-game video. Even though if we have 10 minutes and we do this before practice, we always end up getting around 15 minutes in the room before we go practice. So we try to go over this, and they already have the link for this before we even go to practice, so they can watch it before as well.
Right.
So one of the things we were working on are our slops and blobs as well as offense. So I'm always putting in little notes on the bottom. It could be questions, it could be missed opportunities. So, and I was talking about the mouse in the house. So this is 1.5 speed. So I hope everything is being shared.
It's good for me. It's still going pretty. It's going quick, but it's still very visible.
So we were talking about a mouse in the house. Now you see already the kid with number 15. He's ready to go down. And he goes in like this is a matchup we can utilize. But again, the guy with the ball on the weak side, he's trying to get a drive, and we missed it. We end up not having the look we wanted. So timing is key in offense. So we run too fast out of our slops blob. So like I said, one of the keys was counters to an aggressive defense. So you had a great teaching point on this. What I actually wanted was the corner, the short corner, so this donker spot to get out of space, because that will end up having the sealer inside, and then we get it off because the wing will lift up and he needs to go to the corner. So you see, wing is lifting up, he has to go to the corner, but the big man as well, like he's called down, he's not sealing your man. So the pass inside is not being seen and not being made because he isn't there. Once again, short corner need to space out. So we utilize drag screens as well. So in the next play, like, all right, I'm going to drag you, but I'm touch and go. And this is the decision making you were talking about,
Right.
Menelik. So what we see is, what do we do after the screen? Because this is a good screen and this is a good rotation. But now, where's the advantage? So number 15 on the left side can already go inside. He's already a bit late. But on the catch, we have to see the advantage. And he doesn't see it. He tries to get up, loses the ball. And this is the one I was talking about with the great hand signal. So this is late in the game. I will go at it. And I will put it to normal speed because I think this is an important one as well. So what do we do? So you see him pointing, and this is late in the game. So this is at the point that it was, I think, 61-64. So this were basically the game sealing free throws. So
Right.
he's already pointing out, I'm going to screen you left. Oh, no, I'm changing it. But the defender is already thinking left. So he's already in a circling motion. He's already calling out his communication to the guy defending the screen. He uses a little float dribble and like, up, and I'm downhill, and now they have to foul him, and he steals it at the free throw line. So I don't have to spend a lot of time of boxing out, as we already discussed it. But still, I always try to be a bit positive on it. So because we can always be negative, but we also can be positive. So now I'm talking about the guy, you cannot see him. He's on the baseline. He's on the left side now. And eventually that shot comes by him. He's looking for him. So he's looking for that big guy that comes in for the rebound. So the number 8 from the left side. He actually does a great job. He doesn't look at the ball. He's going to look at the ball the moment he makes contact with the 8. So he's not allowing him to be pushed inside. Though there's a big size advantage, so he ends up getting the ball and ends up having the opportunity.
So, Mike, I got a quick question for you, just as you're going here. I can't help but notice that all of your titles at the bottom are in English. Do you guys coach in English?
Yeah, we coach in English. As well as I've the number 2 guy. He's Polish, so he's from Poland, so he speaks English, and
Oh, right on.
I don't speak Polish, and the other guys don't speak Polish as well. So I'm speaking English to them. Well, we got your fellow Canadian coming in. Well, it should be a year ago, but we will see when he be coming in. Before we had Alex Sarama. So yeah, we're actually speaking English, depending on the teams we have. So it could be
You know that
like our
I
birth
know
song is
Alex,
English.
and I had no idea that Alex is Canadian.
No, Alex Sarama is not Canadian.
Oh, okay.
No. But your fellow Canadian. I was talking about Tanner Brightman.
Yeah, okay. Because I was like, I'm pretty sure Alex isn't Canadian.
No. He's from Great Britain. So
Right.
Let's talk about Tanner.
Yeah. Talk about Tanner. Yeah. So we always want to use the 3 phases in rebounding and boxing out. Is we want to do a take on. So that's what he did in the previous clip. We want to do a take on. So we want to like enforce our contact with him. After that, we want to like brace, and we don't want to brace with our back towards him because he can simply move us left to right. So we want to brace with. I took this one from Mike McKay. We want to brace like with our hip, with our shoulder blade, and with our triceps. We don't want to, and certainly we don't want to box out like this, because
Right.
this simply takes one finger to put you out of the way, and I'm on the boards. So and after that we want to seal. We just want to make sure you cannot get around us. So we have to do a better job. Now I also put in every time I put the scores of triggers. So mostly I play that a little bit faster because that are all the scores we use of triggers. We have trained on. So 2-man games, 3-man games. We put that in as well, just so they see all our offensive things that they done right actually. So now this is the twist as well. So we already know this one. So now he's connecting. So that's also one of the reads we have. He's connecting to go to that zoom on the left side. He's actually watching right, but calling the left player. So that's the Polish guard we have. And he's going. He sees the defense is stepping or over playing him a bit. Immediately rejects, and again your 2-footed finish at the basket. This is the play in which we have the 3-pointer out of that smash you saw. So he actually sets it up himself. He dribbles it up, and we see that. Now out here we want to have that paint touch, and we have back doors, which are pretty common, of course. We also want to look at that kick ahead, and this is part of our 2-side break as well. So we don't have the pass to the 2-side on weak side, but we have an early and up. So he is passing it early and up, and he's following it up to the slot, getting it back open, and yeah, we shoot first. Yeah, I think
Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion.
no, I think we shoot around 40% of our shots. If I say it, yeah, 40% of our shots are 3-pointers, and we make them at a clip of around 30%. So, and this is the one, Mike, I was talking about. I will play it. This is the one we do the bogut. So we call that a bogut. Let me play it. So he's going for a zoom. It's not an ideal setup, but he recognizes I'm not getting the advantage, and he's pivoting. So essentially setting or blocking the defender from going over. Now he actually wants to go under. This was a play we called out because actually after the handoff, we wanted to play a pick and roll. So you see the guy coming up for the screen, but now he's just stealing off his own man because we have the advantage and we're taking the shot and we're making it. Well, transition defense was key for us and they killed us on it. They made scores. I see the lines are breaking, but they made scores from our scores. Well, that just cannot happen.
Right.
It's simply done and don't allow middle if in transition. We don't want to gamble, like just basic stuff, but they did it. So pick and roll coverages, like I said, you added those well. We don't play aggressive enough, and they will find. They were great in finding the advantage and playing along with it. So once again, this was the one you were showing as well, and this is the. All right, so now we're Xing out, but he's not doing a good job. He even plays it a bit dirty because the number 3 guy is still poking him in the belly. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do.
It can get a little rough out there sometimes.
Yeah. So, and I don't talk about mistakes, but I want to talk about missed opportunities because that's a positive vibe to it. Like, and this is just, man, if you steal this ball, you have to go up.
Yeah.
I don't care about being blocked. Same here. We had multiple of those. Like, just finish it. And this is a great one as well because this is actually as well. So we want to run a gap, but he's passing it and running right after it. The guy didn't even get enough time to set up for the gap. Didn't even have enough time of receiving it. End up in being a turnover and a layup at the other side. He's lucky don't get it and one. So this would be a keep it read because he doesn't give enough, doesn't pay enough attention to his own defender. So if you see, he catches the ball, but his defender is already opening up as he gives it back. So that was just a keep it read for the big man. He does a good job of rescreening it. And this was the seal you were talking about because this is a great seal he makes. Like he's sealing him outside. And now you're talking again. What are we going to do? Because there's a corner guy open. You cannot see him. He should finish this, but if he's fouled or not, I don't care. Like he has to go up stronger. So we also put a great emphasis on rebounding because we want to have one-handed snatch rebounds. That's why you see we train on it, great snatch. So he snatches it out of the air with one hand, secures it, looks at it, makes a good ahead pass. And now this is the fact that we have bad referees. He's calling it travel. We end up getting it back because I mentioned it to him. And he said, oh yeah, you're right. But he did screw up our fast break. So this is, again, keep it read. And again, what you were talking about, watch the weak side. Because he does a great job. He places a hammer screen on the weak side. So he's in the hammer screen. And now look where the advantage is. The advantage is not with him anymore. The advantage is on the left corner. But he doesn't pass it. He makes a floater. We miss it. And we end up not getting an open three-pointer. So again, shake, pick, and rolls. They know the verbs. Yeah, so they know it's a shake. He's shaking, going up. He's even connecting with him. So we don't have the sound on right now, but he's connecting with him. He's shouting his name actually. But he goes to the other side, which we have a 2v1 as well. So that's not a bad look because the defense underneath is helping, and he does a great job of spacing out. So we have a 2 against 1, but he just makes a bad pass, and instead of passing it to one of the 3 guys that was open, we end up getting nothing out of it because they have the ball and they run. In this part, we want to keep vision of the floor. So we do too much with nothing, and on weak side we play again like a little hammer screen, but we don't even pay attention to it because we're not looking at the screen. So once again, a veer action. This was out of the timeout. We called veer. So what we wanted to do was to fake the screen, bam, go down because we know we want to play aggressive. They want to play aggressive. Guard dribbles up to the basket line, and we end up getting a shot out of it. We miss it, but I'm okay with that shot. Here we have a penetration in which they know the verbs: early help, early pass. This is 2 players that early help. Actually, there are 2 more players waiting for him underneath the basket. Yeah, that means there are at least 3 guys open outside, and he finishes on his own. That's not the best decision. 2 side break, great look ahead. But now he catches the ball, and we have a fill at the slot, but he still takes a shot, contested. Yeah, that's an extra pass. If there's a question, you should mention it to me, Menelik, because I'm not watching the chat.
No, Kellen's just exiting, and she's saying, Mike, it was great to hear you explain the game the way you see it. So she's just saying thank you and
perfect.
Thank you for jumping in.
So now we're going to that zoom in which I said north-south. Look what he's doing. This is nowhere near north-south. This is like an extended 3-point line arc in which he is running. So we do not get an advantage out of it because it's not dangerous enough. Now we do have end up getting a screen, but we don't see the seal underneath. And we do end up getting a good shot in the corner of the quick ball movement, but we don't make it. Now, this is neutral. He has to recognize that he's on top, so he has to do something to get us out of the neutral scenario. With neutral, I mean, we have played a trigger, but we have not gained an advantage. So they switch because we played too low, and we don't have an advantage. Now, he has the option, he can choose to go set a screen, for example, ask for a get, ask for anything, except for watching for 5 seconds. And now we end up having nothing. We have to hoist one up because the shot clock is expiring.
Right.
And yeah, this is the one we were talking about, the shot clock.
Right.
So in and out help. We
This
want to help
guy
from
in the hole, same thing.
Yeah, and then we want to X out. Here again, the guy over helping. He's watching, he's pointing down, but now he's the goalie. Yeah, he's a soccer goalie. He's watching the ball, defending his line, but now we end up getting an end one against us. Here again, the low guy, we was not ready because he wasn't on quick on his feet, so he was watching his man. Oh, wait, I have to help. No, I'm too late. So now he's jumping and stunting in. So now he's doing a good job. So it's not only like making mistake, but now he stunts, and I'm out of here again. Ball's gone, I'm out of here. Hup, once again. One point I'm heavily on with this number 4. He loves to help from strong side corner. Strong side corner is no help. Now we don't end up getting a shot out of it, but for a good shooter, this is enough of a space to get a good shot out of it. And even ends up doing the ole, he pulls the curtain and says just jump on in. So yeah, that is more like the breakdown I make. Focuses around our keys for the game, as well as our so to say non-negotiables, as in our defensive support system, as well as our triggers to see them like giving a positive vibe to that we use triggers to scoring.
Mike, I can't express enough how awesome I think that is. I love how much you're willing to share the game. That's what the idea of Run It Back has been from the beginning. And I mean, for you to give us an hour and 45 of your time when I only asked for an hour, I think is fantastic, especially after the long day that you've had. I tend to wind these shows down the same always. So like, I'll give a big shout out and thank you to the Rising Coaches Network, which of course has connected me with individuals such as yourself and others that love to share the game. Really appreciate that network. And then I have nothing but admiration for the people that take time out of their day to jump on these calls and listen and interact. And, for most of us, we're coaches. Some of us are just fans who want to like listen, learn, get better, all that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that. But then more than anything, of course, I guess, such as yourself, Mike, I'm just so appreciative of everything you do. Anybody who's listening, definitely check out the YouTube link for his channel that I put in. Not only is Mike excellent, as you see, at explaining the game from his perspective, but he's had some A1 level guests over this break in terms of people who can do a similar job and have been sharing the game and cover things in an extensive way that you like. It's remarkable how much you don't know about a game that you've played a large portion of your life and how many people are so good at teaching it. So thank you for all those various levels. Next week we've got Dan Krikorian joining us, actually sure. From Slapping Glass. So that will be pretty cool. Another excellent sharer of the game. Beyond that, which game is he doing, James? I don't know. I don't think he's picked yet, if I remember correctly. So I don't think it's against you guys, if that's what you're asking. And there was something else I wanted to cover, but it's slipping my mind right now. Mike, I know you're hungry and everything, but we're going to shut this down right here in terms of the recording. If you want to linger for a few minutes or whatever, sometimes coaches just kind of stick around and shoot the breeze and have questions that they didn't want to ask on camera. But if you want to go eat, totally up to you, whatever your thing is.
No, man. Let them ask the questions. I've spent so much time around coaches spending time and making time for me. So I'm all about giving back as well. So yeah, thankful for the opportunity. First up, and like to share this and to talk to you all. And I'm like I said, it's all about sharing. Um, on the YouTube channel, I've got like 7 talks about this same size we're just having
Right.
with 3 speakers each, a half hour speaking about a topic. Just so yeah, there's this great content there. Stuff I cannot share you because I simply don't know. And I've been honored to be here and speaking for you guys out here, listening to this. And like I said, I am more than happy to spend another half hour with guys just wanting to ask
I love it,
questions.
man. I love it. I
I know
love
the
it so
recording
much.
won't be too long, so it will be too long, so we can stop the recording for that. But if anybody has any questions, man, just feel free to shoot them. I will stay in.
I got one last shout out just before I get out of here, just because both these gentlemen are on this call. Lamar Barrett, who has been a former guest, as has Trey Montgomery, are both on here. And for anybody who's watching this, Trey's Unmasked just came out today. So you should definitely go check that out, because those are other people doing awesome stuff with respect to the game and sharing it and telling their stories, etc. So please go check that out. Beyond that, thank you, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording right here. See you guys next week.